Flatman here. So today we're talking about a little thing that I found out. No, that was such a weird thing. I felt like I went super mousy. Like, we're going to talk about a little thing that I found out. Isn't it interesting when you do this with your mouth? And then you talk like this, where the top lips don't move and the bottom lips do all the work. And you show just half of the teeth, as opposed to all of the teeth. That's so weird. Okay, blah, 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 blah. Okay, I was trying to log into my Facebook on my computer, and I forgot my login and password. I'm such a boomer. I keep forgetting what is after boomer, because I think I'm 2 generations after boomer, because my parents had me like very late in life. So I'm not. Anyways, I think I'm generation Y. Anyways, 87 is the year I was born. Not what I wanted to talk about, but I thought there was a very fascinating thing I saw on Facebook where somebody posted, she's a woman, and I wanted to show you the exact thing or tell you the exact thing, but effectively what it was is, you know, I'm like this is what the comment was, and then she's showing this like billboard / somebody painted white and then put letters on a side of a building saying, I wish more people should not talk about things that they don't know anything about, right? And I was like, all right, cool concept. And her comment was like, this is why I don't talk about politics. Now, I want to unwrap all this because it's such an interesting thing. And here's the fundamentals of it is, A, should you talk about a thing? Should you have opinions about a thing? Should you invest energy in a thing that you don't really know anything about? All right. Now, that could be something like the Olympics. Well, I don't know anything about rugby, right? But when I watched the Olympics, the female Olympic rugby team kicking butt or losing or whatever, I didn't see all the games. But when I'm like watching it with my in-laws at their house, I have opinions and I'm like, oh, this based on ignorant. Wow, they all seem kind of like dudes. And I had to like look online and like, are male rugby's players allowed to be in the female team? Because of trans rights? No. Just with the boxers, apparently. Olympics, you're failing. Anyways, but aside from that, like, and I'm not trying to knock them, like, apparently rugby's like a really gnarly sport. And when you watch the game, which I did I watched several games, it was so enjoyable. I was like, this is amazing. This is such a cool sport. Like, it's so fascinating. Like, I understand why it's not really caught on in America, but generally, like, really enjoyable. And the rules, I was like, I don't know what it is. And I had to, like, look up some of them. And I'm like, this is intense. Like, this is high impact. This is cool. And it made me want to watch the men's rugby stuff, but that wasn't available because I guess the men's male American rugby team sucks. I don't know. Doesn't matter. So my point is I know nothing about rugby. I'd never seen a game in my life. And to be fair, I'm a rather opinionated person. I'm inclined to give my opinion about things and to think about stuff, which is part of the reason I'm doing this, as a way to not unload all of it on my, my wife or my other loved ones. The guy who lives in the back, who's a good friend of mine. What's up, John? If you're watching this video. Anyways, which I do love you, by the way. You're included in the people I love. Anyways, whatever. But you run into this weird thing where I'm like, hold on, am I not allowed to have an opinion about something that I'm not properly informed about? It was kind of what it seems like one could take from what she said. But I didn't really get that. I got what she was saying is, look, I don't know anything about politics, so I don't discuss politics in polite conversation. I don't really talk about it. I don't know anything about it, so I don't talk about it. I would argue that she doesn't even have an opinion. And I'm like, all right, cool. So let's just put it in the box of politics. All right. The conundrum, the question would be, all right, if one knows nothing or has decided to not really educate oneself. However, interestingly enough, in America at least, and I think in a lot of other places,
you're still, as a citizen, if you're born here and you're 18, you can vote. It doesn't matter. There's no rule saying you need to be properly informed. So that means people who know nothing are allowed to vote, and their vote counts the same, hypothetically, as somebody who's like very much in tune with what's going on. And I find that fascinating and weird and interesting, and I don't know what the right answer is. I have ideas, I have thoughts, I have concerns and quandaries. And this all kind of stemmed from this woman's post. And I asked her, I was like, okay, well, her thing is kind of twofold problematic. One is, all right, so it's good on you that you're not putting your 2 cents in something that you know nothing about. I appreciate that. Like, that's great. Cool. You acknowledge that you don't know anything about this thing. You don't want to step on anyone's toes. You don't want to like spout ignorance. Fair. Fine. Appreciate that. That's admirable. Laudable. Next question. Do you vote? Because if you vote and that, then you probably should not vote at all because you don't know anything. So whatever you're voting for is like you're ignorant. So you're voting on something that you could be the deciding vote that's like, well, let's just go down this river and then we'll go and we'll just die. Well, I didn't know anything. It's like, all right. So then the second thing is not being knowledgeable about the government and elections and politics. I understand the appeal because ignorance is bliss. I was talking to my boss today about how like, oh man, when I was younger, it was so much better because I was like, la da 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 da, I know who the president is and that's about it. And as I've aged, I've gotten more and more and more knowledgeable and more curious about what's going on and why it's going on, how it's going on, and starting to give, not just one or two, but many poops about what the situation is and trying to figure out what the solution is and how to actually make it work. And frankly, I haven't been very successful because I haven't actively well, I'm going to do this, but whatever. But here's the thing is that I feel like I'm ahead of most people because I was raised in a family and I was homeschooled, and the family I was raised in, my parents, taught me to question everything, to just well, why? And not just I'm 7 years old, why, but I'm 20 years old or 16 years old or 14 years old. Why is this a thing? And to oh, I have an interest in the thing, pursue that thing. I don't think most education, public school especially, but private definitely as well, in large part, they're no, stick to this curriculum and do this, and this is what we tell you, and this is how it is. And that's very closing. And it doesn't allow, it basically opens up this thing saying, oh, all the information that you need to know about whatever subject is going to be told by this person. And that's all you need to know about this subject is what they say. As opposed to, hey, we're going to talk about slavery. Here's 15 books. Or you know what? Just the subject of slavery. We want you to read, here's 150 books. Read 5. And here's a quadrant, here's a quadrant, here's a quadrant. Read one from each quadrant, right? About the subject. I'm just making this up. But then you could have a diversity of thought because perhaps you're going to get some random student in the same class that's I'm going to do this. Well, read this book. They have a totally different perspective on slavery, and then all the students get to talk about it on a day or a week of slavery, and they can talk about it. But that's really not what happens in public school, and it's really disturbing to me that I'm why are our kids being educated for, 14 years? Really 14 years? For 14 years, and the net result is your average 18-year-old in America, where they barely know what continents are, barely know the name of the oceans, barely know anything. Just basically suck at knowledge. And it's just one of the biggest fails on public school and just fails in general of like, how have you been informed for 14 years and you literally know nothing? And then you have to go to college and go learn a specific... Sorry, I'm totally... So, here's the thing. Here's what I'm going to end my diatribe on. No, she's right and she's also wrong. She's right in that, like, if you are ignorant of a subject, it behooves you to not pretend like you are knowledgeable about a subject. If you don't know, then you're welcome to contribute to the conversation. Frankly, every sane person wants you to contribute. We want active dialogue about a subject and a thing of interest. That's good. It's a very good thing. Please do more of it. Please have an opinion, have thoughts, communicate it. Okay? You don't have to be informed. You don't have to exhaust tremendous amounts of your ever dwindling amount of lifetime to be like, oh, well, however, you need to be apparent and overt about your lack of knowledge. So when somebody's like, hey, so what about this and this? Like, it behooves you and is really the correct thing to be like, hey, I don't know about that. What is that? Oh, okay. Shoot, I don't know about that. I don't know about that. I don't know about that. Like, it's okay to have opinions, and it's okay for your opinions to get shut down. It's not okay to have like no knowledge about a thing and then jump in and be like, well, this and this and this, and then just call people names. Where it's like, you're a bigot, you're a racist, you're a this. When it's like, that's not an argument. You're just saying you don't like that I counteracted your point. And that's one element of what I'd say. The other element I'd say is that, and to be fair, she's a new mom. Her kid's like 6 months old or whatever. So I get that she's busy. But I get that this was her beforehand. It's just, anyways. There's this other thing, which is realizing that our politicians on a local level, on a state level, and on a federal level, on the entire level, they are all our assistants, okay? It is our job to manage the government. Our job. We're responsible. We, the taxpayers, the people voting for these people, we are responsible for the government. Full stop, that's it. So if the government's doing things we don't like, then it is our responsibility, basically as employers, the citizens are the employers of the government, to be like, you're doing it wrong, you're fired, change this, or hey, you know what? I'm scrapping, I'm Title IX, I don't know if that's the correct term, I'm bankrupting this whole thing, like, nope, swiping it off, start again. It is a responsibility of the citizens to do that. And the bankrupt, the swiping everything off, that's a last-ditch effort. Like, that means you've totally failed and haven't paid attention, and it has gotten to that point. And frankly, in my opinion, we're kind of getting to that point because so many Americans are not even like intelligent enough to understand anything. And then we're also distracted with House Dragons, which I just saw the finale, was great. You know, like all these things and you know, yada, 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 so much other stuff. And we're taxed to high heaven, so we don't even have extra income. Like, oh, I work a full-time job, but I don't have enough money to like get by. How weird is that? Whereas before it was like, yeah, I'll work like 20 hours a week and I'm just happy as a clam with my blacksmith shop. So all these come into play, and frankly, it is imperative. It is the responsibility of every single citizen of the entire world to be like, I am responsible. This is my job to pay attention, to care about this, and politely to inform other people, hey, you should know about this. You should look into this. You should do this. It's not enough anymore. Like, it's fine when things are well to be like, I don't really care. Things are not well. You can no longer not care because it is affecting you. And if you think it isn't, look at your egg prices a year ago, 4 years ago, and today. Remember your gas prices when you were 10 or 10 years ago, 5 years ago, whatever. Like, you can look and do a just general search and be like, wait a sec, things are not getting better. Why is that? And think about it and realize that in any other life situation, if you're running out of money, you would check yourself and be like, or your friends like starting to get into hard drugs or starting to date bad people. You'd be like, hey, knock it off. Why do you think it's okay to be like, well, politics is a separate thing? It's like, no, politics is something that you should care about because it very literally affects you and affects everyone you love and care about. Every single person. So that's it. That's my PSA for today. I love you all. Plaidman out. Bye.